Hey friends, this is the Mrs. Wolfie from our half-acre homestead, and I have a lot more vegetable scraps than I thought I did. I'm going to be 2 days making broth. Look at this. These bags here are carrots. This is parsnip, that's onion, and this is celery. And these are my canning pots. So, well, we'll just have to divide it up the best we can and put the rest back in the freezer until this batch is done. Okay, we've got carrots and onions and some parsnips, onions in some other ends, and celery. I still have these bags to go back into the porch where it's cold until these are cooked. I'm going to use my last 3 jugs, 1 gallon jugs of distilled water. Why am I using distilled water? I'm going to use well water as well. But the reason I'm using distilled water is because don't cook with distilled water. Say if you're canning, don't put distilled water in the jars, or it will leach all the nutrients out of the vegetable into the water. But for broth, distilled water is amazing if you have it. Okay, you got enough. You need some more. And this one. Turn this one off. All right, and we're going to put the lid on the onion, and these are all going to come up until they're spouting a steady stream of steam for 10 minutes, and then I'm going to pressure cook these for 1 hour. And when these are done, I will move them off, strain them, and I will get my onions on, and then we'll start the rest. All right, this one has been venting a steady stream of steam for 10 minutes. So we're going to put the weight on this one, and we're still going to wait for this one to come up to temp. As soon as this gives us a vigorous jiggle, I'm going to set the timer for 90 minutes. All right, I'm going to shut these off now. I'm going to take this right off the stove and put my onion on. And this one has been, the celery has been cooking for quite some time. So, well over an hour. I'm going to take it off as well. And as soon as these the 2 big ones cool down, I'll put the rest of our stuff in it. This is the one time I don't mind rapid cooling the canners because we're not pressurizing anything other than the food, and we're going to rapid vent these so that I can strain them and get the rest on. Okay, so here is the celery. I don't want to dump it all in here because it will be a lot to dispose of. Down on the chair here so that I can very carefully tip this very slowly. You don't want to get splashed. While this drains, we're going to start filling up this pot again. And now this goes back on the stove and starts all over again. We'll wait until the onions are done, and then we'll divide this between 2 canners. Now here I have an old canning pot I don't use for canning anymore. And all I'm going to do is the juice. I've already got a full huge stock pot of broth. And now, in the one I just did the onions in, so now I have 2 canners left. This looks horrible, guys, but it really is. All of this stuff was washed before it was peeled and frozen. So now let's get rid of this over this. Rather than using more water, I'm going to be cooking the rest of these vegetable scraps in broth. Okay, so here is our pot of celery and parsnips and all that stuff. And again, I'm just going to drain this, and I'm going to pour this broth again over the carrots in the next 2 pots. I'm just going to all right. Now, and I'm going to pour off most of this into this pot, and then the rest into the pot that's on the stove. And back onto the stove this goes! Canners are all getting scrubbed out tomorrow, and we'll be canning broth. Our 2 canners with the recommended amount of water in the bottom, and a rack and a shot of vinegar in each one to keep my jars from clouding. Here are, I don't know, probably 2 dozen jars all washed and ready. I have these soaking in vinegar to clean out the rust. There's our lids washed, rinsed, and in hot water, our rings, our hot broth, and again, we are in tight quarters, so I'm going to do the best that I can. Now, I mixed all of these broths together because some was going to be stronger than the other, and I've ended up with 3 of these stock pots of this wonderfully, really good, strong, rich broth. And this is the easy part of canning broth, is the canning part, because it's just liquid. And always, you do not need to debubble because this is liquid, but you always wipe your rims with a clean, damp paper towel. And on goes the lid, and into the canner this goes. Now, we've got our nice washed lids here. We're going to put this lid on. Okay, and as soon as these start to vent a steady stream of steam, we are going to vent the canners for 10 minutes. The venting process pushes all the air out of the canners so that when you put the weight on, you get the proper amount of pressure inside the canner. So don't ever skip this process. Okay, so we've got this one venting, and it's on a timer, and this one hasn't sealed yet. So that one, when it's sealed, and we'll vent it for 10 minutes, and then we'll have to set separate timers. Okay, our timer has gone off for this one. We're gonna put our thing on, and then we're gonna reset our timer for another 3 minutes for the second canner. And as soon as we get a vigorous jiggle, we are going to time these for... I managed to get these to jiggle at the same time, so now these are set for 35 minutes. 35 minutes for quarts. Our timer has gone off, so we're going to turn these canners off, and we're going to let them cool down naturally. All right? I'm not going to jiggle, even though I still have I still have another batch to do, but I'm not going to jiggle the weight. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to let these cool down until they are safe to open. When this bobble is down and I can touch the sides comfortably. And there it is, folks. 24 jars of beautiful, deep, rich, almost concentrated broth. Now, some of you may ask, why would I go through so much trouble to make broth? Because that broth will turn rice into a vegetable. You feel me? It's a soup base, a stew base, a casserole base, and it can take rice from plain rice up to vegetable infused rice. Broth. I hope I never run out. It's a staple of my pantry. Take care, God bless. Special announcement from 4 Jars. The folks at 4 Jars are having a Black Friday sale from 6 p.m. November 24th to the end of the day on the 28th. They're giving you a whopping 30% off, with the exception of already bundled items. Add the coupon code HALF-ACRE for an additional 10% off. That's 40%. Now, if you've not already shopped for the home canner in your life, then this sale is for you. It makes the perfect gift. Remember, November 24th, 6 p.m. to November 28th, the end of the day. 4 Jars canning lids, the only lids I'll use. You can't go wrong with 4 Jars.